Good day, everybody. Another car video on the way to the park with little Miss Kenzie. She's very cold. You see, she's from the islands, right? So she's got this very thin layer of fur. So Canada weather is not, she's not bred for it, so to speak. Anyway, I'm on my way to the park in the car, and I just wanted to do a quick video on something that showed up in my YouTube feed this morning. Now, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but apparently Justin Trudeau put out some tweets very recently, I think in the last day or two, regarding traveling into Canada. So get this, the new measure is going to be this. When you arrive at, first off, all international travel is going to be routed to 4 airports. Vancouver, Calgary, Montreal, Toronto. And, idiots like running in the road. Anyway, so all international travel has to go through those 4 hubs, which, you know, is of detriment to other international airports in Canada that, you know, rely on that business and are particularly hurt because of all the restrictions and the travel downturn to Canada due to COVID response. But on top of that, anyone arriving in Canada, citizen or not, has to be PCR tested when they arrive. And then they have to wait until the results come in. They have to stay at a hotel, at their own expense, mind you. And they have approved quarantine hotels. So my guess is that Toronto will probably be the Sheraton. It's connected to Terminal 3, I believe, or Terminal 1. Well, anyway, there's a Sheraton hotel at Toronto Airport that's connected to the terminals along a tram. So when the wife and I used to travel, we would typically go to Toronto the night before, stay at the Sheraton, and then fly out as early as we could the next morning. It's just more convenient. And we don't typically take luggage with us. We typically just go carry-on only, so it's quicker and easier for us. But anyway, I digress. All international travel is going to be routed to these 4 airports. You have to quarantine immediately after arriving. You have to be tested immediately after arriving. You have to quarantine, I think, for 48 hours or until the test results come back, which I think is 48 hours. If you test negative, you still have to quarantine for 14 days in your home. If you test positive, here's the kicker, you have to go to an approved quarantine facility. Not a hotel, not a specific, you know, hospital. It just is approved quarantine facility, meaning, I don't know, COVID camps? I may be drawing conclusions there, I don't know, but if it said the hotel, then I'd say, okay, so they got to stay at the hotel, which kind of sucks. But then they said that, no, it didn't even say you have to stay at, they'll be transported to. That's the big thing. You'll be transported to a quarantine facility. Sounds like COVID camps. Sorry. I mean, they've done it in the UK. They're putting people in quarantine camps. Are we there yet? Is this a tyrannical government yet? I have friends that say, well, you know, it's only people who travel. If traveling's that important to you, then, you know, you got to go through the steps. That's what the answer is going to be. Well, you know, they're putting people at risk. They're really not, though. They're really not. Especially these PCR tests that they do, where they rotate these samples at, I want to say 45 million RPM, and they result in false positive tests. There's been a couple of videos online where a guy did a swab test of a kiwi, he did a swab test of a can of Coke, he put it through the PCR machine, and came back positive test for COVID. The guy who developed the PCR test, he said this should not be used to detect viruses. This is a genetic test. This is designed for specific genetic testing. Now, of course, viruses have DNA or something equivalent. They are genetic organisms, so they have DNA. So, but anyway, I don't know all the science behind it. All I know is that these measures are getting more and more extreme as the death rates, you know, go down, as the case rates continue to climb. of course, even despite all these measures, even despite the lockdowns, even despite all the, the mask mandates and the mask rules. Thankfully, there's no mask mandate here yet, but I can see it coming. I can see them making it law. Anytime you go out of your house, you have to wear a mask. I mean, they're locking people up in quarantine camps. So, and here's the thing. The fact that the people who test negative still have to quarantine for 14 days is asinine. They're negative. Why do they have to stay home for 14 fucking days? I say it again and again, and there seems to be a disconnect. If you are not exhibiting symptoms, that means you're not coughing or sneezing. You're not spreading the virus. So there's asymptomatic spread. It is not a serious driver of viral spread. It just doesn't work that way. People act like there's a cloud of fucking viral contaminants orbiting around you at all fucking times, and you don't know if you have them or not. I'm shouting now, and I don't like to shout because it makes Kenzie upset. I'm sorry, puppy. She's also very excited to get to the park. She hasn't been in a few days. But it's blowing my mind. And when I say I think we're living in a dictatorship, and people around me saying, well, it's not quite a dictatorship. I'm like, how is it any different? It is. You travel outside the country, you come back, they're going to lock you away in a camp if you happen to test positive on a COVID test that isn't 100% accurate, that is unreliable. Folks, this isn't about controlling a virus that, let's face it, is essentially a bad flu, right? It's a flu that most people will recover from, unless you have comorbidities, you're in this big, you're in the elderly segment of the population. You have already cardiopulmonary issues. Most people who catch it are going to have a bad cold, and they're going to come out of it. We're almost there, pup. This is not about a virus. This is about control. It smacks of Agenda 30. Oh, speaking of which, this showed up in my feed as well. Now, I haven't watched the whole video, but Klaus Schwab, in his, Great Reset, Fourth Industrial Revolution documents, the World Economic Forum, the next big threat is going to be a global cyber attack. Be prepared to have internet accounts wiped out. Be prepared to have internet be down for several days at a stretch, and everybody talking about this is the biggest tragedy to rock the world since whatever. It's gonna happen. Again, another tactic in the agenda of control. What happens when lower and middle class people have their accounts knocked out because of a computer virus? Right? What's going to happen? Are they going to reinstate all those accounts? Yeah, maybe they'll be able to reinstate some of them, but watch, there'll be a release saying, well, unfortunately, we weren't able to recover all the data, so we're going to instead give everybody a bunch of money. The government's just going to print money and give it to you, based on what we've determined based on your income level, blah 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 blah. Another arrow in the quiver to bring out UBI, get people relying on government for funds, and then eventually they'll just say, yeah, let's just give everybody money every month. Then they don't have to worry about things like this. I may be going off here. I sound like Alex Jones. I sound like Canadian Alex Jones. But that people can think this is still about controlling a virus and saving grandma after all this shit that's going down is mind-boggling to me. It's like, wake the fuck up, people. Jesus Christ. What does it take? What is it going to take for you to realize that this is about control? This is not about a virus. This is about fucking with you and putting you under their thumb. Why? So they can usher in the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Age, the Agenda 30. You know what? If you don't like these conspiracy rants, you can unsub. I know that there's probably people watching this going, Craig's crazy, he's lost it. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I have, though, and we'll wait and see. I've been right about a few things, I've been wrong about a few things. But this tweet storm from Justin Trudeau has got me thinking I'm probably right. Anyway, I'm at the park now. I'm going to take Kenzie for a run, and we'll talk to y'all later. Thanks. Bye-bye.